is remarkable to me whenever I go to these meetings is just how lucky I am here in Vermont, because I'm the only secretary of a natural resource agency in the country practically, maybe with one exception, that gets to talk about climate change. Now, isn't that astounding? I mean, isn't that, so Yale actually has a Department of Climate Communication, and they just came out with a study that was shocking, but maybe not that shocking. I'll tell you the statistics. You tell me if you think it's shocking. But the statistics show that that there is a divide in this country about climate change. That's stark. 86, and I'm going to have to look at my notes just to make sure I get the numbers right. But it's 86%, or almost 90% of Democrats believe that we're having climate change, and of that, about 70% believe that there is a human cause to climate change. So maybe that's shocking that it's not 100-100, right? But on the other side, it's only 47% of Republicans, people who call themselves Republicans, who even believe climate change is happening. And of those 47%, almost 70% believe that humans have nothing to do with it. That it's just that natural cycle that the world goes through. Okay, that's huge. And then independents are actually not that great either. So among the independents, 57% believe that climate change is happening, which is good, but of those, only 51% believe it's caused by human activity. So we're in a country of radical non-believers, and it's like saying, I don't believe in gravity or math. I mean, it's incomprehensible to me. But that being said, as somebody who's involved in public policy and running government, am I lucky or what? I get to lead a climate cabinet. We are leading the nation. And for that reason, I think Liz and I feel pretty responsible. We have a pretty big task on our shoulders. Because if we're it, we really better get it right. You know, we better do something that other states can learn from and see that it isn't consistent with economic development to make sure that we're taking care of our environment for this and for future generations. You know, that the steps we take for a sustainable energy future are consistent with prosperous, healthy communities. And so I'm committed to doing that. In terms of the energy plan, that's where we're really going to ask you to get involved. What we're doing in the Climate Cabinet is we're taking a look at what pieces of the plan really require government action. But given the fact that so much that has to be done in terms of accomplishing the sustainable energy future requires lifestyle changes, changes in our communities, how we build them, how we get to work, how we live in our homes. Those kinds of cultural shifts and behavioral shifts, there's not much Elizabeth and I can do to make that happen. And, you know, to get, you know, my teenagers even to remember to turn off the lights when they leave a room, you know, or to unplug all those little LED light things. You know, it's now maybe we'll be able to do it in our homes, but in terms of government's involvement, there are areas where we can be of help. And so we're starting to carve that out of the plan and prioritize. I don't have the list yet, but we're going to be taking a look, I know, at the renewable energy standards, and we have sort of a list of obvious, we're going to take a look at the speed program, how can we strengthen that, we're going to look at time to energy, we're going to take a look at a total energy standard, and we're really going to get started in getting serious about the infrastructure for electric vehicles, because you all know that our electric is mostly renewable, and almost entirely we actually are one of the best states in the nation in terms of the amount of greenhouse gas emissions caused from our electric generation. But our real problem is transportation. We've got an issue with home heating, but we know there's some easier solutions to implement than for transportation. So starting to think about electric cars is really important. I see she's coming up with questions. In terms of climate adaptation, I mean, I can talk, and I'm not going to because she's coming up with questions, about Irene, right? And remind you that it isn't just Irene. We had historic floods in May. with historic spring floods as well, we're going to get more rainfall. And so when we think about adaptation, we have an incredible opportunity now to do things differently. And we had an interesting conversation in the Climate Cabinet. And the conversation was, yeah, we could do an adaptation plan, but how many years is it going to take to get, the vulnerability studies done? And we're about to make a historic investment in our infrastructure in our lifetimes. It's my hope that we never have to make this kind of investment again. So we've got to get it right now. When we put in new culverts, in our roads, we need to make sure that they're going to work, given climate models for the increased rainfall. When we rebuild our communities, we need to think about what that increased rainfall is going to do to our river systems, so that we're rebuilding the right way in the right places. So the Climate Cabinet decided we're going to keep going. We've got some contracts out for these vulnerability studies that you need for the climate adaptation plans, but we need an action plan. So we're actively going out for best practices so that as we begin to make those investments, that we're spending that money in the right way. I guess I'll close here, except to come back full circle. As we implement the energy plan, there's certain things that government can do, and we're going to be looking at doing it. But we really want to engage Vermonters. So the Climate Cabinet is planning to unveil a public process to get all of you involved. And we haven't worked out the details yet, so I can't announce it, but we are committed to an organizational structure where we let go of control of a lot of this plan and put it in your hands. Because you're already doing the work in your communities. You're getting a lot done. And, let's all come together. It doesn't, I hear when I go out and hear about the plan, oh, but 90% by 2050, isn't it too long, or this and that? And what I say is, look, whatever the number is, it doesn't matter. We're heading in the right direction. And that's what counts, right? The challenge is great. So I want to thank you all for helping us head in that right direction. I hope you leave today all jazzed up, because we have a lot to do. Because it's not just Vermont on our back, it's the whole nation. We've got to lead the nation on this. We've got a great opportunity. And thank you. And why don't we bring Elizabeth up and we'll do questions together. Thank you so much.